In another top story, former SABC Chief Operations Officer Hlaudi Motsoeneng spent his second day at the state capture inquiry defending his actions during his tenure at the public broadcaster. He discredited some evidence from the SABC 8 journalists, saying they'd contravened company policy by speaking to the media. Motsoeneng denies persecuting journalists who didn't toe the line. Let's bring in our reporter, Manqoba Mchunu, joining us now. Manqoba, thank you very much. Let's start with former President Jacob Zuma, some saying that Hlaudi Motsoeneng had actually explicitly said, treat him well, something like that. Give us the details.
Well, of course, that was testimony from one of the SABC 8, Mr. Futa Krige, last week, where he made those allegations that during that meeting, the pre-election meeting that took place in 2016, he had said that, they must paint former President Jacob Zuma in a positive light. And of course, he clarified this. He says that first of all, he does know President Jacob Zuma, but he says he does not have a relationship with him, nor is he a friend of President Jacob Zuma. So he's simply saying that at the time, what he was talking about, he was saying to them, they mustn't insult the president, because he says there were a lot of media that were insulting the president at the time. And he says that, that was the directive that they had given there to say to them, don't insult the president. And we must also be able to separate the president between President Zuma as the ANC president and President Zuma as the president of the country.
Then a very controversial decision, which I understand he admits he made, which was that SABC journalists would not cover violent protests. What did he say about that?
Well, of course, at the beginning, he really said that, he saw nothing wrong with this decision. He says, in fact, he didn't believe that this was a ban on violent pictures. He says he just simply wanted reporters to report responsibly on the matter. He says, when they took the decision, however, he says, Francis, it's not a policy. So he does say it was not a policy of the SABC, but it was rather a decision that he took in consultation with the then head of news, Jimmy Matthews. And he says, of course, that, he was following the Act, the Broadcasting Act, which says that violence should not be glamorized. Rather. So he says that he was simply following that act, and he says that even till this day, he still believes that that was the right decision he had taken at that time. Let's take a listen to it.
My understanding, as I said earlier, the way I analyze and interpret it, for me it is unlawful to glamorize violence. And when I read this paragraph that the advocate is talking about, I still stand with those views, Chairperson, that I was within the act, and I want to submit that that decision of the ICASA, they went against the act itself, Chairperson.
Obviously, some journalists not happy about that decision. There's been an overall claim that anybody who defied Hlaudi Motsoeneng was purged. What did he say about that?
Well, of course, Hlaudi Motsoeneng is denying that. He says that, there was no purge of staff. He says, in fact, the SABC 8 and those who had been said to have been standing up against this decision of the SABC were actually removed or suspended for leaking information to the media. So he denies outright that there was a purge of staff, and he says that, if at all, he was not even involved in that. It will be the line managers of those people that will be involved in any disciplinary measures that will be taken against those people. And he says, in fact, some of them even used his name. They name dropped in order to institute these disciplinary hearings. He simply didn't know about some of them. Let's take a listen.
Many people were supposed to be dismissed when management, they want to dismiss them. And they go there and use my name, Chairperson. And some people can allude to that, what I'm saying, Chairperson. I will never allow such stuff to happen at the SABC, because I know that is what journalists should do, debate robustly amongst themselves. Where I will act is when it comes to transformation, Chairperson, where I think we must transform. We can't talk forever. Where the Chairperson, I act.
So a very different picture painted today as opposed to several of the SABC 8 journalists. Just tell us overall what he was saying about their claims, many claims against him.
Shockingly, Francis, he says that they lied before the commission. He says that he never did some of the things that they claim he did. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
These people, they portray lies, Chairperson, and I want to repeat, they portray lies in this commission and outside, because that is what I mean. In the SABC chairperson, they will tell you the most person who involves staff, who discuss with staff, it's me. They were even calling me a doctor, chairperson. In the staff corridors of the SABC, if you are sick, they will say, go to that doctor. So it can't be correct, the chairperson, when people come and mislead the commission.
All right, and he's finishing off his testimony soon.
Well, of course, we are supposed to finish today, but there's still some outstanding issues, including that controversial multi-choice deal that was signed between the SABC and MultiChoice, which is expected to detail tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, Manqoba Mchunu. Following the Zondo Commission, we'll see who the Zondo Commission believes.